One of the things I'm most proud of is our mental health department, where we provide low-cost counseling to special needs individuals and their families. During times like this is something that everyone can use.
Hey!
Hello, everyone.
Happy Tuesday.
I can't see with my
second
glasses.
Tuesday in December, I think, or
December
like
8th. Yesterday was a very important day in Hawaii.
Why? What happened?
Because it
the
was
7th.
Pearl Harbor
Right.
Remembrance Day.
And today is actually a huge day according to the music world, the 40th anniversary and the passing of John Lennon.
Oh, right. His execution, right?
His execution. Yes, his murder.
God, it's not something to smile about, Chrisa.
No, I'm just remembering
I have
it.
the giggles.
Actually, I'm old
apologize.
enough to remember hearing about it. And
you were like 2.
I was like, thank you.
She was just a baby when that happened.
So we got a lot going on today.
Yeah, we have a great show.
We have a
very
special
exciting
guest,
show.
and also it's the beginning of
almost. Today is Tuesday, so day after tomorrow, we're going to celebrate
Hanukkah,
the Festival of Lights. And I think, and I was telling Chrisa earlier, that I think this is really an especially important Hanukkah because there's been a lot of darkness in our lives and in our world. And Hanukkah and the story of Hanukkah is about bringing light into the darkness. And I think now more than any other time in my life, in so many of our special needs communities' lives, we need to bring some light into the world. And this is really just a little example. It doesn't matter what religion you are. You can celebrate Hanukkah. There's all kinds of wonderful things to do. Here's a picture of my son who's visiting us. He's now a giant 6'4" grown man. But, Hanukkah for my kids, we never celebrated Christmas. And this was like the big deal, the big event of the year. And but I think we really can use this as an example in our current times because we all got that scary notice on our watches or our phones or whatever, and it's very scary. There's a lot of darkness in our world right now.
Well, in California, we for those of you that are not in California, we just got a statewide alert that we have a curfew tonight. So it's just uncomfortable to get something like that. It kind of activates your nervous system. What does this mean? Everything is already shut down. We're already in isolation. So it's just another layer of this darkness that we just don't want, but it perhaps is necessary for what we're doing right now with this COVID life.
Absolutely. And the thing is that as a parent, when you're with your child, your special needs child, and you get these alarms,
it was a loud
terrifying
alarm
for some of our community. And, we have these instances over and over as parents where we have to really kind of just like table our own emotions to be able to handle and be able to keep some normalcy with our children. And that's as mothers, that's the most important thing. And I think our next guest, our special guest, really is the paradigm of that because she went through such an incredible, upward battle and
transformation and
had to be strong for her child. And I think that's something that I can definitely relate to. And why don't we bring Melissa on so she can tell us her story because it's really a very important story and very current for our listeners.
Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So for our viewers, Melissa and I have a long time history of friendship from the music industry to today. And I consider her a sister and a lifetime friend. So we've gone through a lot together over the years. And you've recently wrote a book about a memoir. You're so young to have written a memoir, but you've been through a lot. So tell us a little bit about it and the inspiration behind it.
Okay. Well, also, Chrisa, I love you so much. And she's so sick of hearing this for the past 30, maybe more than 30 years. But Chrisa is forever special to me because I met her the same day that I met my husband, Joel.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
yeah, we all worked together in the music industry, and we were kids, babies. But yeah, so Joel was the love of my life, and we had been married 16 years, but knew each other for much longer. And he basically 7 years ago, he died of complications from multiple sclerosis and West Nile virus. I feel like I am a pioneer when it comes to viruses, and it's so sad because these days we're hearing a lot more young people who are dying of COVID. But this happened 7 years ago. My daughter was 13. She's an only child. I say I'm an only parent. And I always made my living as a writer. I was a screenwriter for many, many years. And after my husband died, I really was lost and did not know, with the exception of my daughter, I had no idea how I would find my way back to myself. And I joined a writing group, and I was encouraged to start writing about what was going on for me personally. And as a screenwriter, that thought had never occurred to me because I wrote make-believe, and I wrote, even though it seemed real to people watching the TV shows I wrote, they seemed like real people. They weren't. So I started writing about being a young widow, being an only parent. I did find love again fairly soon after I lost my husband. I started writing about that. There was a lot of perceptions about widowhood. And because I was younger, I didn't feel like I met the expectations of widowhood. I didn't look like a widow. I didn't act like a widow, but I felt like a widow. And that's how I came up with Widow-ish, which is the title of my memoir. It's available for pre-order now. It comes out in February, but you can buy it now. But I started writing about my widowish journey, and I started writing these essays, and I sent them to a ton of publications, and I got published in the New York Times and the Los Angeles Times and the Washington Post, and I had a column on the Huffington Post. And I found that in writing my story and sharing my story, it was, number one, it was so healing for me. And it really is what kept me on track. But what I didn't see coming, and the unexpected gift in all of this, is that my story resonated for people. There were so many widows and widowers in the world who felt that they too had circumstances that didn't identify them immediately as somebody who was their person. And it's
Melissa, I think I remember you said you had joined a grief group, I think, and you had even started to facilitate one, or you all sort of got together. I remembered something like that.
Right. Well, so what happened was I didn't join a grief group. Wasn't for me, although I know it's so healing for so many people. It wasn't for me. I was in grief therapy one-on-one, and that worked better. But once my essay started getting published, I started hearing from so many people, not even widows necessarily, but just people who were going through a life change or a big life transition.
Well, a really terrible divorce can, especially if you've been.
I had so many divorces tell me.
It can feel like that to a lot of people.
A lot of ways of expressing loss and grief, but we're talking about the death of a spouse.
And how did your daughter feel as you were going through this journey? I mean, did she feel? Did you share the writings with her, or has she read your book?
Oh yeah, she's read my book.
Now she's 20, correct?
She's 20, yeah.
Okay.
She, the biggest challenge for me in writing the book really was keeping. My daughter's name is Sophie, and keeping her story her own. I didn't want to project my experience onto her. I want her to have her own voice and her own feelings and her own opinions about it. That being said, I depict what our life was like. The story Widowish really takes place in year one of losing my husband. She was 13. So much of her experience, I kept thinking, is this because she's a teenager, or is this because her dad?
Yeah.
And I realized the answer was really irrelevant, because it is what it is. She had the feeling
Yes.
she was having. But it was a traumatic time for both of us. And I feel like because of her, I was able to stay on track. She, she had school, she had play rehearsal, she had sports, she had drama. Like her schedule was much more finite than mine. So,
Melissa, one of the things that I'm thinking about as you're talking is, and again, how loss and grief shows up in so many ways, is when I work with special needs families, they often talk about maybe the loss of the dream that they had for their child, and like what your expectations were that you had imagined when they get that special needs diagnosis. And so did you ever come across any people that talked about something like that? Like, was that ever something that came up in your?
Well, for me, just in a personal way, Chrisa, so Sophie was in 8th grade when Joel died, and she had a lead role in the school musical. So she came home from rehearsal one night, and I actually write about this in the book. And she said, "Daddy's not going to get to see me in the play."
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I could cry just even remembering that. Because what that triggered for me was everything that Joel was going to miss.
Yeah.
He was going to miss the play. He was going to miss her middle school graduation.
Yep.
He was going to miss her entirety of high school and college. He won't know our grandchildren. So there is definitely that sense of what you just said, Navah, like a feeling of like the life I thought I was going to have.
Yeah.
And the life that I am having.
Yeah.
You have.
Yes. So, so as you're writing these stories and people are approaching you, what does that start to feel like that you're connecting with others about loss? And
well, it sounds like the book is completed. It's going to come out in February. Is that?
Yeah, the book.
Yeah, but she was writing articles for like the New York and
before
Huffington.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the feedback I heard from so many people was people who were dealing with loss or grief or feelings that their life was not turning out the way they had envisioned, were so appreciative that I was able to put into words those feelings that they were having.
Yeah.
So that, like I said, that was such a gift. I did not see that coming. When I started writing my story, it was, in a way, it was very selfish because it was just, for me, it was a way for me to express what I was feeling, because people kept asking me, how are you? How are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I would just send them, well, I wrote this essay about it. You could read, and then that evolved into this whole career as an essayist and now my memoir.
And I think also because you were so young, I think that puts you in a totally different bracket too, where you don't have the same kind of experiences that most people have, God willing, that their spouse, dies when they're older. And I think that, a friend of mine also, her husband died when they were first together. She was still young, and she said that she had this kind of like this feeling like, am I allowed to love again? Do people expect that, I should just be in mourning? And the truth is, of course not. Anybody, even the parents of the husband that she lost was at her new wedding, because that's what her husband would want. He would want, that's what your husband would want, is that you find happiness again, and you for your daughter, to model that kind of happiness. That's such an important part for her too, to see you like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been very lucky. I have a great relationship with my in-laws. We're very close. My family lives on the East Coast. My husband's family lives here in Los Angeles, where my daughter and I live. And I did find love again, very unexpectedly. And my in-laws completely embrace him to this day.
That's wonderful.
They will reschedule family dinners if my boyfriend can't join us.
That's great.
And I do feel very lucky in that sense that people wanted this for me. The one thing I'd like to say, though, is I do have this new love who's been in my life for many years at this point. But I think there was also a misconception that, Melissa's in love again, she's fine.
Oh,
but
yeah. For sure. Mm-hmm.
That's not the case. I still feel married to Joel. Marcos is my boyfriend, and he kind of accepts that. And that's part of what makes him so lovable. It makes our relationship work in some ways, because there's no replacing my husband. But, I have moved forward from the loss, but it's still with me. But life moves on. That's the thing. The world keeps spinning. Life moves on, and you manage. And I have also found that time is a miraculous healer.
That's what I was wanting you to share more. If you can talk more about that, like some of the transformation and stories of resiliency that you might have heard, or give some tips to people about moving forward and bringing that light back into their lives, and how to, what can they do to maybe transform themselves in a different way. I know, like you said, you're always going to have the memories and the thoughts of your spouse that has passed on, or even in grief, your friend, a parent, whoever has left your life that you're grieving over. But
Right.
Can you share some stories of that, perhaps?
Really, it was. I think the early days of grief are so overwhelming and so numbing that it's just like going through the motions. And then you slowly start to realize, okay, I left the house and I showered and I got dressed, and things start to feel normal again, even though it is still completely surreal. And I think that's a common experience with other widows and widowers I know, is there's an acceptance of life moves on, or we like to say life moves forward.
Yeah.
You just kind of put one foot in front of the other, and next thing you know, like, something got accomplished, and that something could be very simple, like you walked the dogs that day. So I think it's baby steps, and then eventually you kind of come out of this widow fog. And I have found that in finding community. Oh, Chrisa, you asked me if I had been in a widow group. I actually started a widow group.
Yeah.
Because so many people were reaching out to me, and I knew enough people, sadly, who were looking for ways to connect. And I have to say that in finding community with people who have a similar experience, much like what you guys do at the center, it's like there is something to be said about people who have walked a similar path. And
For sure. There's nothing that compares. But I think it goes back again. Melissa had her daughter, and even though you were just following the motions and kind of sleepwalking, having a child really makes you feel like you have to get up, you have to function, you have to do the things you have to do, because there's somebody else who very much counts on you. And I think that probably makes it an impossible situation livable, even though, from everything you've said, I assume it would be like, you're just sleepwalking, and then little by little you start to wake up again. But
Navah has a story when she talks about like her passion for mental health and wellness. She talked about having how many children and being a single mom. You had your 4 kiddos. And
my grief has nothing to do with death, but I did go through a very, very hard divorce, and I was a single mom with 4 kids and having horrible anxiety and everything. But again, no obstacle for a mom is too great that you can't say, okay, I have to get through. I have to get by each day. I can't just take to bed, because although I think there's a time when you do take to bed and you allow yourself to grieve. And I think going back to what you said about special needs parents is we tell people there is that time in the beginning when your child is first diagnosed where you should have that time to grieve, because they aren't going to be, doctors and lawyers, and well, they could be.
Yeah. No, there's the good doctor, right?
I take that back.
No,
but I'm saying that there is this grieving process. And I think that there is a time to grieve, and there's a time to get up and function. And I think that we're more, as moms, we're kind of forced to do that, and kind of forced to go on, because we have no choice. This is just the way we're made. thank God we have something to get up for and function and get out of bed and just.
I know it's a double-edged sword because it's like you don't want to put that much pressure, that kind of pressure on your kid. But that's what I did. I mean, I was like, thank God for Sophie, because I feel like I could still be under the covers.
Yeah. And I would say you were so smart to keep her occupied, keep her involved in musical theater or whatever she was doing.
Yeah.
It's so important because then she had this ability to kind of like refocus herself and put her efforts into stuff.
Well, that her life wasn't so uprooted. I mean, yes, her father wasn't there. Yes, she had the awareness. I know they were very, very close.
Yeah.
And he was very much a hands-on dad. He was always present. He was definitely not an absent kind of guy. But to keep her life as similar, to keep her life very rooted in what was making her feel normal or feel
well, her regularity
connected.
was her schedule. And I mean, that's actually what Chris and I deal with every day is our folks in our community are so dysregulated, and their schedule is everything to autistics, and it's something that our community is really struggling with. But
also, Melissa, I think one of the things that Navah and we've talked about in at the center here is that like-minded kindred spirits, that Navah likes to run a moms group, and there's something about moms having the connection of there's the loss of the dream or the well, I mean, they need.
It's Melissa said it best. You cannot possibly, you and I can't possibly understand that level of grief because we've never been there. And Melissa surrounding herself with other people who have been through a loss. That's the only time, we can't even comprehend that. And it's the same with having a special needs parent.
And then also like the dads grieve in a different way. The dads are different about it. And then also we have siblings that, Sophie's an only child, but we have siblings that feel this loss, that they weren't as available. They didn't have their parents as available to them because their parents were, dealing with something else or their own depression or their own grief. So even that shows up too with siblings. But I think just finding the tools you need to get yourself, even the smallest things, like you said, taking a shower is an accomplishment. Even when I work with depressed people, the smallest things, what can you do today? We just break it down and we come back to something very minimal. Did you wash your hair? Were you able to eat? And that's a win. And then absolutely one foot in front of the other. And you just keep, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, a year just passed,
That's exactly right. And I also think like routine, like you guys were just saying, it's so important whether you're special needs or not. I think everybody does so much better having a routine. Knowing this happens at this time, this happens at that time. Like there is something to be said about having a schedule, being kept on track, knowing you have to do X, Y, and Z at such and such time. I think there's healing in that. I mean, and grief does, everybody is walking around with some kind of grief. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've lost a spouse.
Right.
There's especially this year of 2020, there's a lot to lost out on. So
for sure. And our show started off in the pandemic. And I mean, it started with the young adults that weren't able to go to prom or graduation, or they were starting off college, and
almost a year ago, by the way.
Oh no, it's March. No, it's not been a year.
Almost a year.
It's almost
10 years, right?
I know it feels like 10 years. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for joining us, and I really hope that you will come back when your book comes out, and I'm excited to read it.
Definitely. Hey, I want to ask our producer: were you able to find the photo of the book? Did I send you that link? No. Okay. Sorry. But do we have her website? Can you put the website up? Okay, so he's going to put the website up. And also, what's your Instagram account?
It's Melissa Gould _author.
Melissa Gould, all one word.
Melissa Gould, one word, then a little like underscore dash, and then author.
Great.
Okay.
So Melissa, I don't know if you're doing anything this Sunday, but I'm going to tell you that Sunday we're having our virtual gala, and
I know all about it.
yeah, it's a table read of It's a Wonderful Life, and I hope that you'll join us. It's going to be amazing, and it's only one night only. So a lot of people have called in and said, "Oh, can I watch it the next day?"
Or I'm working. Can't.
One night only.
Oh, really?
So you snooze, you lose.
One opportunity.
Right. I love that you guys are doing it. I loved the hashtag Give Pete a Chance. I love.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean,
he's fantastic.
He's such an amazing young man, and he's really been very transparent about his own depression and suicidal thought.
I know, it's so important.
We don't want to say that, but he did admit that he's depressed.
He said that he has some mental health issues.
Yes, exactly.
And I think you might have seen the SNL little blip that he did on Saturday Night Live that during the newscast. And so that was just really special. It was awesome that he's able to be our George Bailey.
A modern George Bailey. That's what he is for us. He's a modern George Bailey, and he can inspire a lot of people with his own, his own honesty and just really an amazing young man. And I hope you'll join us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa. We'll have you back. We'll see you very soon, and thank you so much for this inspirational story.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right.
Alrighty. So the other thing I wanted to tell people about with Sunday is, if you haven't gotten somebody a present for Hanukkah or maybe for Christmas or whatever, one of the things that you can do, and you can help support our mental health programs and our online content that is completely free, is to buy some of the add-ons for the virtual gala. So one of the things we have is a really cool package where you get a one-of-a-kind, nobody has this, I Hate Spunk t-shirt, and the beautiful book that's the inspiration of It's a Wonderful Life. And
it's a beautiful book. It's red.
It's a great package.
Writing on it. It's just a lovely keepsake.
And it's our $100 gift pack. So it's a really great gift. The $100 gift pack includes one admission per household for the show as well. So it's a really nice gift.
I think you get a little bell too, right?
No, Chrisa.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't give away the.
Wait, is that okay?
That's for a different pack.
Sorry.
Chrisa.
I'm not going to say anything.
But check out our website, www.teafc.org, to sign up if you just want to join the fun on the night, or if you want to get one of our amazing gift packs. And you can't miss this. It's one night only. Pete Davidson as George, Ellie Kempner as Mary. Vanessa Williams is going to do the narrating.
Yeah, that's
who happens to be Eddie's favorite person in the world. He's very excited because she was in Elmo and Grouchland, and he's very excited about that. So we're going to say goodbye until... Oh,
wait, how do you say goodbye in Yiddish?
In Yiddish?
In Hanukkah.
Oh my gosh. My mind just went totally blank.
All right. I know.
Help me here, Steve.
I know French.
All my Hebrew friends are going to be like, oh my God,
should be. Oh, aloha.
No.
Go with God, alabai.
Go with God. That works too. But
we used to say shalom aloha.
Okay, shalom
in Hawaii.
Aloha.
But anyway.
But
we won't be here. Next Tuesday is our last show?
Tuesday.
Okay, we have one more show before the break.
We have one more show.
And
then we'll have a break, and we'll be back in the new year with lots of hope and possibility.
God willing. Okay, everyone. Have a wonderful week.
We'll see you
next time. Kamina's next.
Hi there. I'm Christmas sweater model Tom Bergeron with a special holiday message for you on this Giving Tuesday. Today is a day to give back and to pay it forward to those in need. I have a special message. Don't have a teleprompter going old school. As many of you know, I'm hosting a virtual table read of the holiday classic, It's a Wonderful Life. It'll be a star-studded event benefiting my friends at the Ed Asner Family Center, serving families of children with special needs. And you're invited to this event. We understand times are tough right now for so many. While the funds we are raising are vital to helping individuals with special needs and their families, we also wanted a way to pay it forward. This is the very essence of the center, really. We want to help as many people as we can, regardless of ability to afford the services they need. And so we've created our hashtag Pay It Forward campaign to bring light, love, and joy to as many people as possible. So here are some ways you can participate. Buy a ticket for a special needs family in need. Just follow the link under the sweater, and we'll do the rest. You'll be giving an amazing gift to a family you've never met. Share any of the Ed Asner Family Center posts from Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook to be automatically entered in the 12 days of magical giving to have the chance to win a free ticket for you to attend or gift to someone else. Click on the Nominate a Frontline Worker button on the site to honor those who are fearlessly fighting on the front lines to save lives, to give them a chance to watch the table read for free. The links and information are under the sweater. So that's it. A simple way to spread the love and joy of the holiday season when we certainly need it most. All right, hope to see all of you on December 13th. I'm getting out of this sweater.